there have been a myriad of iPhone 7 leaks coming out recently. It seems like every single day you see a new leak, you see a new image that's come from the supply chain or from a rumor site, and it's just gotten very overwhelming. And it's also gotten very, very exciting to see what Apple's going to come out with in 2 months from now. So let's kind of just go through a quick recap of what we know so far, to just kind of cut through all the daily rumors and just see things that are kind of solidified sort of at this point. So the first thing that we know, obviously the A10 chip, it's going to be faster than any iPhone previously. There's been a purported leak of a Geekbench 3 score that supposedly compares, among other things, the iPhone 7's A10 chip and the iPhone 6s, which has the A9 chip. The leak suggests that it's going to be 500 points faster on the Geekbench 3 score, which actually puts it in line with the iPad Pro processor, which makes it incredibly fast. Not that the iPhone 6 is even slow now, but the A10 chip should be incredibly quick. The next thing that kind of makes a lot of sense for the iPhone 7 is new Gorilla Glass. Gorilla Glass 5 was actually announced just earlier this week. It's going to be much improved over previous generations. Everyone kind of has that cracked screen story. And each generation we start to get stronger and stronger towards a screen that won't break. So based on the timing of that, it makes a lot of sense that Gorilla Glass 5 would be in the iPhone 7. Now, in terms of design, this has been the big controversy because this should be a year for a redesign, but all the leaks so far have pointed to a very similar design to the iPhone 6s. The big difference, of course, is the omission of a 3.5mm headphone jack. Just today, we saw from a source that the device is going to ship with a dongle that'll connect normal 3.5mm jack headphones to the Lightning port. You know, we've also seen rumors of Apple shipping earpods that have lightning cables. We don't exactly know, but it makes sense that in the first transition year, there'd be some sort of bridge to get people being able to listen to their music without the 3.5mm jack. Again, whether that's an adapter, whether that's lightning-enabled earpods, whether that's wireless earpods, we don't know for sure. But when you get rid of the 3.5mm port, you get rid of that legacy, you actually gain several things. First of all, it allows the device to get even thinner, which is something Apple always likes to tout. It also allows for stereo speakers to be put in, a speaker where the jack currently is on the iPhone 6s, which is actually very, very appealing, having better and better audio fidelity. You see stereo speakers on the iPad Pro, and it's very appealing to have that. We're also going to see kind of the one big difference between the 6s is the antenna bands on the back. Looks like it's going to be gone. Another thing that you get with this redesigned body, because of the omission of the 3.5mm jack, is actually improved battery life. So a leak came out from a semi-reliable source that said a 1960 milliamp hour battery will be in the iPhone 7. If you compare that to the iPhone 6s, it's a significant improvement, which had a 1715 milliamp hour battery. So pretty big improvement there. I think the biggest differentiator between the iPhone 7 and 6s are going to be camera tech. I'll talk about the iPhone 7 first, and when we get to the end of the video, we'll talk about the 7 Plus. But it looks like just overall battery tech or camera tech is going to be much improved with a significantly bigger sensor. What the bigger sensor does is not only does it allow you to capture crisper images, but it also allows you to get better low light performance, which is huge. A lot of photos are taken indoors at late night bars or concerts or festivals, and that all can be improved significantly by having a camera lens that lets in more light to be able to capture those images in those scenarios. The other thing that we're talking about getting on the standard iPhone 7 is optical image stabilization, which the iPhone 6s Plus had, but now bringing that to the smaller 4.7-inch form factor. Some other big things which I think are kind of cool. Apple can market this very nicely, actually, but it looks like we're going to finally get rid of the 16GB base model and actually double storage across the board. So that'll bring you to 32, 128, and 256 gigabytes of storage. I think that's huge. 16 gigabytes is kind of a very ridiculous number to have when you're touting apps, and you're touting apps that not only run very well but also take up a lot of space. So new storage options, and of course the other thing that we've seen on several rumors is IP68 water and dust resistance. So even though the 6s compared to the 6 improved dramatically in terms of being water resistant, this will now actually be a marketed feature, being able to have water resistance in your phone. You actually see it now with Samsung commercials. There's a commercial where the man runs around and is dropping his camera and eventually drops his phone into a pile of water and the hose is there. You even see one with Lil Wayne just pouring incessantly champagne on his phone. Very stupid, but I think that that's going to be a feature that comes to the iPhone. And again, that coupled with improved screen durability, two huge features that just frustrate iPhone users and any smartphone user, really. And it seems like each generation they kind of improve on it. It seems like the iPhone 7 with a design that's not going to be so radically different is the opportunity for Apple to take those little things that really need to be improved and improve them significantly. So we've talked about the iPhone 7. Obviously, there's a second model, the bigger 5.5-inch device. Currently, you have the 6S Plus, 6 Plus. There have been rumors of a 7 Plus and a 7 Pro, two separate 5.5-inch devices. Obviously, I don't have any inside information into Apple, but what I can say is releasing two separate 5.5-inch devices makes no sense. It seems like one of the silliest, dumbest things you could possibly do. You're going to cannibalize sales, for one thing, of the bigger form factor, and also it just doesn't really make sense. Why would you want to continue to have more and more iPhone lines? Something that always made Apple better in the early 2000s and in the 2000s was that it was simple. There weren't a million options where it made it really hard for the supply chain, where it made it very difficult and confusing for someone to pick. When you came out with the iPhone 6 with that bigger screen size, you had bigger and big 4.7 and 5.5. They basically had the same features. It does not make sense for Apple, especially because it'll be an even more expensive phone if you have a 7 Plus and a 7 Pro, and it just doesn't make sense to me why you do that. So I think it'll just be one model, regardless of what it's called, Plus or Pro, doesn't matter, but one model. The big differences, of course, would be the dual camera support. That'll be allegedly DSLR quality. Again, that's something, you have your phone with you all the time. It makes a lot of sense that you'd have great pictured quality, especially when you're able to now store up to 256 gigabytes of photos and videos. Of course, the other big feature would be the smart connector. That's very heavily rumored. It goes back and forth, it seems daily, as to whether you'd have it. Me personally, I don't 100% see the use case that would make it an essential. Maybe it'll be there, maybe it won't. I don't really know. But it seems like the biggest difference between the 7 and the 7 Plus or 7 Pro, whichever they decide to name it, it's going to obviously be significantly improved battery life, obviously the bigger display, and superior camera technology has thus far always been in the bigger model, and it makes a lot of sense to continue doing that. So what I really want to know is the iPhone 7, 7 Plus, 7 Pro, whatever, boring to you? This is the usual year where Apple would have a full redesign of the device. It seems like a lot of people are very disappointed just on the leaks based on the fact that it's going to have the same design of the iPhone 6 and 6S. But I think it's actually going to have a lot of great features, much faster, significant improvements in terms of battery life, in terms of camera tech, doubling storage across the board. I can already see how this is going to be very easily marketable for Apple as a significant improvement. So I really just want to know what you guys think about the iPhone 7 rumors.